Jacqueline Erdman, U.S. Green Building Council. There's actually a model called, it's an awful acronym, I'm going to warn you. It's called MOOCs, Massively Open Online Course. I can give you more information about it if you're interested, but basically the idea is that there are two teachers that have been doing this where they're basically facilitators. They have a course based on a topic. They give a good amount of information just left, like for people to use, and then they're using different types of social media so that anyone who wants to be part of the course can just start a discussion. They can do the coursework that's suggested or not. Some people do it for credit, some people don't. And for them, they actually had something like over 2,000 people be a part of the course, and I think only 25 were for credit for their school. And in essence, these people, I think it makes more sense for lifelong learning than for course curriculum. But as a way to look outside of the box, and I actually wrote a paper on this, so if you want to read pros, cons of the early development, that's cool. And I also contacted these people. They're going to be doing another course in September if you want to participate yourself, so you can kind of have a feel for it.
I just want to make mention on that. I'd seen the NRO. I was talking to their online folks on how they deliver training for folks. And they said a lot of people just sign up to get that one tidbit of stuff. They just needed one bit of knowledge set. That's all they didn't need the course. They just needed the information and how to make it active. That's something that needs to be considered in all of this.
Yeah, I just want to answer the question with regard to can we have a degree without courses? And I think the answer is yes. If you get your doctorate program in England, you don't take any courses. You can get a PhD, absolutely no courses. There's always a debate about that because that's grounded in research and theory. And there's always the debate which is better, grounded in research and theory, or taking, have many courses and very little theory or research. But yes, you can do that. I think there are two types of people who come to university seeking degrees. One group of people who comes with a lot of knowledge. Sometimes you feel they know more than you do as a professor, and you wonder why they come into the class. The other aspects, but the other type is people who are seeking knowledge and at the same time a credential. Because the real life out there, you pay it according to your degree, so that's one aspect of it. But kind of looking at the people who are coming to actually learn, and they want to learn something about knowledge management. As far as I know from my experience designing curriculum, there's two areas that I'm quite sure that KM professional must have as a basic knowledge. I don't know how many courses we can offer in those areas. We can offer one course, two courses, three courses. There is no limit to how much you want to people competent in those areas. But the two areas that I'm quite sure that any knowledge professionals must have is the basic knowledge of technology. They need to have, nobody nowadays can do anything without basic knowledge of technology. How many courses, again, we don't know. The other area, I think, is information literacy. You really need to know how to find, organize, process information if you're a knowledge manager, because you deal with a lot of information. These two areas, I'm quite clear that any information professional need courses in those areas. Now, the other areas that kind of tend to be more fall into analytical, behavioral, leadership and that sort of things, then it becomes a little bit more complex. So what type of courses you want to teach and money in those areas, and that's less clear to me, as I said, on what type of courses and how many we can devise in that area. But the other two areas, basic knowledge of technology and information literacy, I'm quite clear about this.
Michael Sutton at Westminster College, an obscure liberal arts college in the middle of Salt Lake City, Utah. We took this professional school problem and turned it on its head. So I'll give you a bit of an analogy. We threw out all the courses in our BBA and MBA programs. We decided that sages on the stage versus guys on the side was an old paradigm based on the medieval period. So most of us who bought into this new model became coaches. And what we did was to architect a full professional applied degree program, as well as the undergraduate, by identifying through focus groups all of the competencies that the executives throughout the Salt Lake Valley and Utah Valley wanted in a graduate degree or an undergraduate degree. These are the core competencies: written communication skills, verbal communication skills, team building skills, leadership skills, decision-making skills, problem-solving skills, sense-making skills, critical thinking skills, and systems thinking skills. Notice accounting was never mentioned. Notice financial management, organizational behavior was never mentioned. They basically said, if you can give us undergrads and grads that have these skills, we can make them into business people. Or if they already have business experience, great. They can apply this experience. So we also threw out marks. Now, of course, this is a professional school. So our goal is not to create theses or to have people go on to a doctorate program from here. So what I'm suggesting, and what I have always suggested when I've been in the workplace as an executive, is don't show me your GPA average. Don't show me what courses you took. Show me a portfolio of business deliverables. That's actually what they get when they graduate. 25 project deliverables that demonstrate their mastery of competencies. And I think we could do that.
Here, here.
Could I make a comment? This might be a little bit embarrassing for George Washington, but I'll share the story anyway. The very first time that Carla and I came to the university, it's been many years ago, we came in and presented a case study of what we were doing at General Motors to a group of Michael's PhD students. And it was quite a shock. And because once we explained what we were doing, the summary was, well, you can't do it that way, and that's not possible, and you shouldn't be calling these people experts. And we were a little bit taken back, and they apologized, and we said, well, wait a minute, you don't understand General Motors. This little harassment and interrogation that we just went through is nothing compared to working with the hostility back at General Motors with our experts. They tear us apart every single day because they're afraid back in 2000 that once we captured what they knew, they were going to be laid off. I mean, they were always rewarded for sharing, for hoarding and not for sharing, and so on and so on. So we were used to the combative environment. So one of the attributes of a KM specialist, in my opinion, is a lot of passion and a lot of courage, and you really need to believe that you have a service and something that's valued to somebody, and you just have to help them get through the journey. But so one of the things I would caution with us developing curriculums and competencies is to make sure that I really think we ought to be focusing on outcomes. We had outcomes, we had real proof. We had 10,000 people that were sharing information with each other. We were coming to the university to gain understanding about why was what we were doing working, and was there evidence in the academic world that would support our success, as opposed to what you're doing is wrong and can't be KM and you shouldn't call experts experts. I mean, we were in an environment at General Motors where I was told by senior executives not to use the word knowledge anymore. Do not use that word. I'm going, well, okay, this is a problem because I have to use that word. So let's see if we can't figure out what knowledge means in the General Motors workplace. Now today, if you walked into General Motors and listened to the executives and the directors and the first line managers, they're using the words knowledge and sharing, and they've got all the nomenclature that we put in place for them to use. So I guess the warning I get is that when practitioners come to the universities, you really need to look at the outcomes that the practitioners are developing, and you need to figure out how to map what you're doing to what the outcomes they're producing, as opposed to the other way around.
Can I make a confession here, since I've been indicted? Anyone to get into the doctoral program, I have a mantra. It's even been adopted by many people at Lockheed Martin. If it ain't broke, break it. Because you don't go to the next step. I'm not after best practices, I'm after best practices to be. Everyone, and they'll confess, who come into my doctoral program, they can't get an A without harassing anyone who comes in. And I told them, you have two of the best experts in the world, practitioners, so you better go at them as feisty as you can. And I don't want you to ever agree with them. So
They did.
that's it. I just want to set the record straight.
They all got A's on that, huh?
They always get A's. I mean, you know, they're that caliber.